Good afternoon. Today is the 13th of February, and we're going to have to talk about a subject that I didn't particularly want to make a video about it, but I saw something about this the other day, and I realised that I absolutely had to, because electric car depreciation is far, far worse than you'd think. I do apologise, viewers. I forgot my actual notes that I was supposed to be using for making this video, so I've had to go and get them, and we're at a slightly different location now. So I've got two different lists here. One is for AM Online, which is Automotive Management Online. The other one is from the Electrifying YouTube channel dedicated to electric cars. So if any bias is there in terms of these electric cars, they're going to be more biased towards them. So I'm surprised to see that they've done a video about the top 10 most depreciated electric cars compared with a year ago. The AM Online page is just all used cars here, but it's interesting anyway. We'll maybe look at the cars that actually maybe kind of risen in terms of their average asking price. This is average asking price actually over all ages of used car. It's not just a 1-year-old used car like it will be in the electrifying list when we get to it, which is interesting. So in 10th biggest negative change has been behind Icona. The average asking price for one of those last month was £18,308, and the average asking price a year ago was 19% higher, so it's 19% change. I never really liked the Hyundai Kona, any variant of it. I just think it's a really ugly car, really ugly, particularly the electric one. I mean, the petrol one's not very nice either. I also think the car's not as spacious as it could be. I've always just was disappointed with one of those. I just think you should just buy an MG ZS EV or a petrol ZS if you want one car like that. They're actually more spacious and they're cheaper. I don't see why anybody really wants one of those, but there we go. The 9th worst offender here in terms of the change of price in negative fashion is a Volkswagen ID4. Again, a car I'm not particularly fond of. The price change has been 19% down. So the average asking price last month, one of these second hand, was £13,110. I think they're like a 60 grand car new or something. So interesting. Next one, Porsche Taycan. This isn't really a surprise. 19.5% cheaper now than it was in January 2023. Average used asking price £84,572. Next, the BMW i4. I don't think quite happy with the way this car looks and things like that. Yeah, 20% negative change compared with a year ago. So last month the average one was on sale for £49,476. I think that's like a £70,000-80,000 car new. It's much too expensive, isn't it, really? And then the DS Crossback is a car that we will see again in the other list. Number 6, they've done various power sources. There's a fully electric one, there are petrol ones, there are ones we can't talk about. The average used price for one of these last month was £15,209. That is a 21% decrease on what one of those was worth on average a year ago. 5th position is the Fiat 500e. Again, not really a surprise to me. I think those cars were massively overpriced. I've driven one of those actually. I drove one in 2021. It's just far too expensive for what they are. Yeah, average asking price when you used one in January 2024 was £19,668, which is again a 22.6% decrease on what one of those was worth a year ago. 4th, the Tesla Model S. The average asking price used one of those was £30,613, 23.9% decrease on January 2023. The next is BMW i3, which is a car you can no longer buy new. Average used asking price £16,283, which is 24.4% less than what it would have been a year ago. Then behind Ioniq, I don't think you can buy like the standard Ioniq that came out in about 2015 or 16 anymore. You can buy the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6, but this is all Ioniqs, I think, including the 5 and the 6. So it could be just those, I don't know. So yeah, probably many of the older models in here. Price change is 24.5% down. Average used asking price $14,969. And then the one that's changed the most, probably due to massive oversupply, there were big waiting lists of these originally, but there aren't anymore, the Volkswagen ID.3, another car that I've tried on my channel. We drove one in 3 Jacket Reviews in 2021. The parents of a friend of mine actually owned that car. They still own it now. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of those. They're all right. They're okay to drive. But the infotainment system is absolutely terrible. It's just terrible. It has improved a little bit, but I'm not surprised that over the course of the last year, the average used price for one of those has gone down by 24.7%. Let's now switch gears and look at a much more sort of precise list. This is cars that are 1 year old, have done 10,000 miles, and we're comparing the price from a year ago to a price, I presume, also January 2024. So very specific, a year old, only electric car, because it's electrifying, a YouTube channel that this video has come from. Yeah, the depreciation is far worse than you think. That was just, you know, the average of all models of those, of all ages on the used market. This is just year-old cars. 10th position of worst depreciation is the Jaguar I-Pace. It's now worth £18,220 less than it was for a year-old model in January 2023. The average cost of one of those now, a year-old car with 10,000 miles, is £30,240. That's 37.6% down on this time last year. I think those are £60,000 cars, so yeah, worth about half. So you lose half the value of the car in a year. Next one, the Lexus UX 300e. I've never heard of one of those, actually, for a while. I knew they existed, but I never have heard spoken of one. Apparently they've not got very good range and things like that, but it's a bit of a bargain. You know, a year-old one is now worth, on average, with 10,000 miles on the clock, £20,913. It's a 37.8% drop on this time last year, and the car's worth £12,687 less than a comparable model a year ago. Utter madness. Then Mercedes EQA, a car that's probably far too expensive new. Again, a 37.8% drop. It's worth £16,625 less than it was a year ago for a comparable car. 1 year old, 10,000 miles. Average price of one of those is now £27,375, which is probably quite expensive, but a bit less expensive than buying one new. And the Kona, which, again, we see one of these on the list. Not a surprise, really, 7th position on the top 10. 37.9% down on a year ago. £10,803 less. I think one of these is like probably just over £30,000 new. The average price of one a year old is now £17,588. Yeah, that's not good. But the biggest surprise for me is the Vauxhall Corsa Electric, known as the Vauxhall Corsa E until quite recently, and which has undergone a facelift. But we're looking at a car that's a year old, so this is a pre-facelift one. £13,830 is the average price now with 10,000 miles on the clock and a year old. £8,600 less than a similar car a year ago, and that is well under half price. It's actually closer to a third of the new price. Do you want to lose over 60% of your car's value in the first year? Buy yourself a Corsa electric. Next, Mercedes-Benz EQC. Again, an enormous drop on a comparable model a year ago. The Corsa electric was 38.3%, was 38.5%, £20,325 less. And now an average EQC that's a year old has done 10,000 miles, £32,575. Absolutely and utterly astonishing. Again, I think that's I think that's a £70,000 car new, so that's less than half price. You'd be so gutted you bought that on a PCP, wouldn't you? Absolutely gutted. The same kind of drop in price of 38.5% on a comparable car a year ago was Mazda MX-30. A friend of the channel, James Martin from JM Cars, did a review of a range extender version of one of these recently, and he wasn't very impressed. I must admit that it is hard to sell a car like this because the pure electric model will only do 124 miles on a full charge. That's terrible. That's really terrible. It looks nice. I think it's an interesting car. It's got these interesting doors, a bit like the old RX-8. But yeah, I mean, a year-old car can be bought for £13,738. It becomes a lot more enticing if you can live with that really short range. But that is an £8,600 drop on a comparable car a year ago. So yeah, your finance deal that you could have got, maybe when you got one of those, if it was brand new in 2021, you might even end up in negative equity or something. That's not so good. Next is a car that Tom, one of the presenters on electrifying, he'd also forgotten existed. I had to. The DS3 Crossback. But in this instance, it used to be called the DS3 Crossback E-Tense. I don't know if it's called that anymore. It might just be called the Crossback Electric. I don't know. But a year-old one of those is now worth £14,993. It's a 38.6% drop on a comparable car a year ago. That's £9,436 less. Oh, it's an interesting car. It's an interesting looking car. The interior is interesting. DS don't really sell many cars over here at all. Let me know in the comment section below, is that a car of any variant, because you can get a petrol one as well, that you'd be interested in having. I don't know if I would be, but there we go. Next is a car that's no longer on sale. It went on off sale in 2023, so obviously it's only available used. It's a Volkswagen e-Up, one of the cheapest electric cars when it was on sale. The average price for a year-old one of these for 10,000 miles on the clock now is £12,300, which is £7,800 less than it would have been a year ago. It's a 38.8% drop. The thing is that because everything's depreciated so much in the electric world, although there are no MGs on this list for some reason, the Corsa is only about £1,500 more, and that's arguably a more sort of complete car, and it would have been a lot more expensive when it was new. So it's kind of hard to make a case for the E-Up, unless you really want one, which you might do. And the worst offender in depreciation, 42% down on a comparable car a year ago, is the Vauxhall Mokka Electric. I don't know whether I'm surprised about this or not. The presenters seem to be very surprised about this, or not surprised, I don't know. But I think somebody would probably normally just go and buy a normal petrol one of these, which would hold its value an awful lot better than this. £15,110 is now the average used price for a year-old one of these, with, say, 10,000 miles on the clock. Well, under half price again, I think. And that's a change of £10,930 over a comparable car last year. We haven't seen depreciation like this for a long time. Back in the day, if you buy something weird like a Daewoo Leganza or a Hyundai XG30, something like that, you would see colossal depreciation the moment you drove to the forecourt. And these are the sort of cars where possibly you might get like a 40% discount when they were new. Those were not unheard of until about sort of 2020. But I wasn't expecting it to happen again so quickly, but it has. Let's sort of return to the reality of what most of you inhabit now, though, and let's have a look at the cars that have actually had the biggest price growth on the used market. So the biggest price growth has been combustion cars, and some of these are a real surprise to me. So in first position, average price change, increase in the average used price, is a Volkswagen Beetle. Average asking price now is £7,849. Beetle's been off sale for quite a long time. I think the last one of those was sold in 2019, and we're probably talking about the the generations that ran from 98 to 2010, and then from, I think it was 2012 or 13 to 19. I can't say they're really my cup of tea, but some people really like them. Secondly, the Suzuki Jimny. Average used price of one of these is now £12,268, an 8.2% increase on a comparable car a year ago. They just seem to be getting more and more expensive for whatever reason. You can buy a commercial variant of one of these now, but the passenger car went off sale a while ago because the dealers couldn't sell them in terms of meeting emissions targets. Every one of those sold was sort of making their lives more difficult. Then the Toyota Land Cruiser, average asking price of one of these, £32,849, 6.4% increase over the same sort of car last year. I'm not sure they make those anymore. Maybe that's the reason. Then the Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is a real surprise to me. I've no idea what this is, but 6% increase sort of year on year for the average used price of one of these, which now stands at £16,172. Fifth is the Mercedes-Benz M-Class. Again, I've got no idea why this would be. The increase has been 4.6%. Average use price of one of those is now £11,719. Sixth is the Dacia Sandero. This is probably not a surprise to anybody. They're still new, let alone used. I don't think Dacia do any discounts at all for new buyers of these cars, new car buyers. So 4.4% increase. Average asking price for Sandero is now £8,305 on the market. Bear in mind, a few years ago, you could buy one of these brand new for £5,995. And the stepway version is number 7. The average used price for one of these is £9,566. That's an increase of 4% over last year. Again, much the same thing. Next one, the Audi RS4 Avant. Very, very particular. Why this is the case, I don't know. Average use price of one of these is now £45,258. It's an increase of 4% over last year. Ninth is a car that's very close to my heart, the Volvo V70. 3 generations of these. The P1 ran from 1997 to 2000, and the P2 2000 to 2007, then the P3 that ran from 2007 to 2016. So average price of one of these up by 3.9%, £7,461. So yeah, obviously all sort of all kind of model years on that spectrum. About sort of 19-year production run the V70 had over 3 generations. I prefer the petrol ones myself. Nice 5-cylinder white block, or maybe even the 6-cylinder white block, which is even more exciting. 10th, the Peugeot Partner TP. For some reason, it's different from the Berlingo Multispace. I've absolutely, utterly no idea why there's been a 3.8% increase year upon year in that car. Who knows? Maybe somebody can tell me about that in the comments section below. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video in the comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more surprisingly insightful information.